the future of global conflict, predicting World War III. The times we live in are much uncertain and unstable. Ukraine is facing missile attacks, surveillance balloons are flying over America, and there's a new conflict in the Middle East with Hamas, and Iran is enriching weapons-grade uranium. People are wondering, is World War III going to happen? And what might occur if it does, as global tensions continue to increase? Even the famous author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, has issued a warning about World War III. And recently, Craig Hamilton Parker, who's known for predicting events such as the death of Queen Elizabeth II, says that the beginning of World War III is looming. The question is, are we prepared? Let's explore current conflicts that could potentially escalate into World War III. World War III predictions: Kyiv, Tehran, and Taipei. Multiple conflict zones could potentially serve as the catalyst for the start of World War III, acting like a powder keg for a global conflict. However, the three most probable candidates where World War III might begin are the ongoing invasion of Ukraine led by Russian President Vladimir Putin, an Israeli strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, followed by a retaliatory response from Iran, and a potential Chinese attack on Taiwan. Now, whether it begins in the South China Sea or Eastern Europe, World War III feels more likely with each passing day. In the First World War, around 40 million people, including civilians and military personnel, lost their lives. World War II resulted in approximately 60 million casualties, with an additional 20 to 30 million deaths from war-related disease and famine. Considering the advancements in weaponry and technology since then, there's a concern about whether anyone would survive World War III. The potential devastation of such a conflict is beyond imagination. Given the current delicate state of the world, a single misstep could trigger a significant and destructive chain of events. The truth is, we currently have a critical need for the global community to collaborate and actively prevent the onset of World War III. This is why it's very important to have leaders who understand pertinent issues and can remain calm in the midst of a violent storm, now more than ever. What is a world war? Experts and historians typically characterize a world war as a massive conflict that encompasses many countries from various parts of the globe. World War I and World War II are prime examples, involving dozens of nations and millions of participants, both military and civilian, with extensive casualties. The outbreak of World War I was characterized by a complex network of alliances, treaties, and imperial ambitions. Nationalistic fervor and geopolitical maneuvering took the center stage, leading to a conflict of unprecedented scale. Let's explore some factors that triggered the Great War, as it provides valuable lessons on the dangers of unchecked power dynamics and the consequences of failed diplomatic efforts. The aftermath of World War I witnessed attempts to establish stability through the Treaty of Versailles. However, its shortcomings, coupled with economic challenges and political unrest, set the stage for future conflict. The interwar period highlighted the importance of addressing root causes and maintaining international cooperation to prevent the recurrence of global hostilities. World War II, how things got worse. During World War II, things got really bad as powerful leaders took over and wanted more land. Trying to avoid conflict didn't work, and the war spread everywhere, showing how many countries are all connected. Looking at this time helps us see what happens when leaders act aggressively, and it teaches us the need for countries to work together for everyone's safety. Geopolitical issues and battles for power. Throughout history, geopolitical factors have been a big part of wars between countries. Wanting to be in control, arguing about land, and fighting for resources are common themes. Knowing how nations compete for power is crucial for understanding current tensions and how they might affect the world's overall stability. When we compare what happened in the past to what's going on in the world today, we notice some pretty similar things. Figuring out which countries are dealing with tensions like the ones before big wars surely helps us see how risky things are right now. Understanding how nationalism, economic competition, and different beliefs play out in today's world is really important for guessing where problems might pop up. While the parallels we observe may be similar, there's also a glimmer of hope. There's been disagreement between many people about what constitutes a world war, because it generally involves two major power blocks of countries fighting for dominance, with numerous nations on each side taking up arms against each other in more than one theater. This is why conflicts like the Korean War and the global war on terrorism in Afghanistan are generally not classified as world wars due to the following reasons. Number 1 would be the geographical focus. These conflicts were localized to specific regions, the Korean Peninsula and Afghanistan, rather than extending across multiple continents. Also, it had limited international participation, because unlike the two major global wars, these conflicts did not involve as many countries. Lastly, it had lesser devastation. Despite being significant in scale and intensity, the Korean War and the war on terrorism in Afghanistan resulted in less overall devastation compared to the earlier world wars. But if World War III were to actually happen, especially with the risk of nuclear war, things would change a lot. Many lives would be lost because today's weapons are way more powerful than those used in the previous world wars. The world would be different, and we might not be able to undo these changes. There are a few possible triggers for a world war. One is Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Another could be if Israel attacks Iran's nuclear sites and then Iran fights back. Also, a war might start if China attacks Taiwan. In each of these situations, big countries with strong armies are involved, making the chance of a worldwide conflict quite possible. The advanced technology possessed by nuclear countries today means that if they use nuclear weapons, the damage could be huge like never before. Studies by places like the Naval War College and the Air Force show that deciding to use nuclear weapons involves careful thinking about strategy. But if even one nuclear attack happens, it could lead to entire cities being destroyed almost instantly in a full-scale nuclear war. And that's not only it. Apart from the widespread damage caused by a nuclear attack, if World War III breaks out, cyber warfare could wreak havoc on global trade, disrupt everyday life, and severely damage our digital systems and communication networks. The consequences of World War III would be enormous, reaching well beyond the countries directly involved in the conflict. Mass destruction awaits. The immense destruction in World War III would probably cause the world's economy to crumble, leading to a worldwide recession or even a depression. The ongoing conflict would shake up political alliances, causing them to change, and new, powerful players might emerge. Normal ways of life would be thrown into chaos as the world deals with the aftermath of widespread damage and loss. The environmental and long-term socio-political effects would reshape the world in ways that are hard to predict. In the Cold War era, the world came close to nuclear war several times as nuclear powers like the Soviet Union, the United States, and NATO clashed. These experiences tell us how crucial diplomacy and cooperation are in avoiding another global conflict. The possibility of such a war, particularly when nuclear-armed nations are involved, serves as a clear warning about the delicate balance that keeps our world from falling apart. It's important to emphasize that wishing for World War III is not something anyone should do, given the immeasurable costs it would bring. Instead, the focus should be on diplomatic efforts to resolve conflicts and ensure peace. But it's unlikely. As a recent survey by the American Psychological Association says, conducted shortly after Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year, almost 7 in 10 Americans were afraid that the world was entering the early phases of World War III. Supporters of Russian President Vladimir Putin seem to promote this sentiment. Although the organization has not posed the question again since then, the October outbreak of conflict in the Middle East appears to be reigniting those concerns. Few experts think the hand-wringing about World War III means that we're on the brink of that kind of crisis. Is World War III starting right now? With the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the mass destruction on both sides, coupled with never-ending issues. Find out more in part 2 of our video. We will address the questions on your mind.